Okay, welcome to Critical Weight Theory, and today we're looking at a popular franchise that is also hated by a number of people out there. So, hello everyone, welcome back to Critical Weight Theory, and today we're going to be looking at one of the films you may have seen streamed or side-eyed on Netflix. I'm Wade, and today we're talking about After. It's a movie that was based on Wattpad fan fiction. It has a brooding British bad boy, and it kicked off an entire franchise. So let's dive in and see exactly what After is all about. So, After is a 2019 romantic drama film directed by Jenny Gage and adapted from Anna Todd's viral Wattpad story, which, fun fact, originally started as One Direction fan fiction. And yes, that means this story is rooted in fan fiction about a boy band. Yet, to my recollection, there is no mention of One Direction or any boy band in this movie, so maybe you could give it a point for that right off the bat. I don't know. But the film stars Josephine Langford as Tessa Young, a classic, pretty overachieving, straight laced freshman, and Hero finds Tiffin as Hardin Scott, the walking cliche of a tortured, tattooed rebel with an accent and a mysterious past. So I don't really remember if he has a tattoo, but the point is he's the type who would get a tattoo because he thinks it's all cool and stuff, you know, the bad boy type. And he's got a British accent, so the ladies are gonna like that in a lot of cases right off the bat. So Tessa's a rule follower, Hardin's the guy who breaks them, so you already know where this is going. Good girl meets bad boy. I almost said bat boy. But no, that would be like the Weekly World News. That would be more of an interesting movie, if you ask me, if it was this character dating Bat Boy from the Weekly World News. But no, the plot is just that it's a girl meets boy, and he's a bad boy. So Tessa arrives at college with her future planned out, largely by her mom, and that's sort of a theme in this movie because it is suggested that maybe she's rebelling against her mother a little bit. She does have a boyfriend back home too, so the new guy is kind of disruptive about that as well. And the overprotective mom and honor student vibes, they're all over her life before she met this new guy who kind of switched everything around. Hardin swaggers in like a live action Tumblr post and everything spirals. We get the usual checklist. There's a game of truth or dare gone too far. There's slow burn tension. Maybe some rainy fights, although I don't remember if that cliche is actually used in this film. There's, you might even have some making out in library scenes. But, I don't remember if a library was involved, to be honest. That would probably be another cliche. But they do make out in this movie, trust me on that one. So there's life altering romantic angst scattered throughout. And yes, there's a dramatic reveal that flips everything. No spoilers, but if you've seen movies like Cruel Intentions, you'll see it coming a mile away. And the cast and characters, Langford and Fiennes Tiffin carry most of the emotional load here in this movie. Their chemistry is strong, no question, but the supporting cast also adds some layers. If you're looking for them, there's Selma Blair, who plays Tessa's helicopter mom, as they call them. She thinks her daughter's love interest is no good, the new guy, and that is a source of drama, between the daughter and her mama. You've also got Peter Gallagher, who shows up as Hardin's dad, and he pretty much plays it straight. Kind of a, I don't even remember much about that performance. There's really nothing notable about Harden's dad, to be honest. But he's there to sort of demonstrate that he's more than a one-dimensional character. He's got his own family. And then Jennifer Beals appears as Karen Scott, Harden's stepmom, adding a touch of elegance, perhaps. We also get a parade of side characters: Tessa's boring boyfriend Noah, her wild roommate Steph, and college party regulars like, I think there's Zed, Molly, Landon, and Jace. And let's talk about the content, because there was some controversy. I'll get around to that. After is rated PG-13, but it pushes that boundary. There are college parties, drinking, heavy makeouts, and yes, Tessa's sexual awakening. There's no explicit nudity, but it kind of borders on, like, oh, I might see something here. And it's an emotionally charged movie, and there's a lot of sexuality implied that doesn't even make it to the screen, of course, because it is PG-13. But it's also implied that there may be some drug use going on that I don't recall being depicted. So if you're one of those parents who's overly concerned about that, then obviously you might be a prude, and you might not want your children to see this little film series. And critics called the romance toxic, and honestly, they're not totally wrong. Although it is realistic, people are like this. So I guess my critique of that critique is that you're going to watch a movie like this in the first place because there's some drama, because the characters are not perfect, right? So obviously it's sensible to have some quote unquote toxic characters in a movie, because otherwise, where's the source of conflict? So I don't totally 100% grovel to that critique. It's like if you watch a horror movie and you're like expecting the villain to be a good guy, and like, oh, they shouldn't hurt animal, like the Michael Myers type character. I can't believe he attacked a dog or something. Like, well, they're villains. They're going to do bad things. And the same thing is, true of this main character who is the love interest. He's depicted as a bad boy. Well, he's not going to be perfect. I mean, that's kind of a no duh sort of thing, really. And Harden's behavior flips between charming and manipulative, but fans argue it reflects messy real life relationships. And, it really depends on your lens and how much you're willing to tolerate. I recognize this movie for what it is, and, you know, I, I don't see much sense in expecting a, a dramatic story to basically have no drama, you know. So there are some positive themes too, I suppose. I should note that Tessa learning to speak up, challenging authority, questioning her life's path, but it's sort of buried under a whole lot of drama. So the movie, it was actually pretty successful budget wise. Obviously, it was enough to spawn a franchise. The budget was $14 million, but the box office nearly $70 million globally. So the critical score, though, it's pretty low, like on Metacritic, and probably on all the other ones too, like IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes. So if you care about that stuff, if you use that as your criteria for whether you're going to like a movie or give it a chance, well, you're probably going to skip over this one, because it's really not a critic's darling for the most part. And the audience reaction was mixed but pretty loyal. Critics drag the screenplay for being formulaic, and of course, like I said, there's the toxic aspect to the character. But fans showed up for it in droves, and thanks to smart marketing and a super engaged book talk slash Wattpad fan base, After built its own empire. And that brings us to the sequels. There's an After cinematic universe. There are actually 5 films in total, so in addition to the original After, you have After We Collided in 2020, which cranked up the angst and, from what I understand, got steamier. And yes, I probably will go over this entire franchise gradually. I'm not going to watch them all back to back, but time permitting, I'm going to actually look at all of these movies. Um, there's also After We Fell from 2021, which, frankly, it seems like a lot of people consider like a filler episode or something like that. It seems like most people don't really care that much about that one. After Ever, After Ever Happy, which is kind of a confusing title, that's from 2022, and yeah, I can't believe that's the real title. Like what? After Ever Happy? That alone, I mean, that is a source of humor for me. I might have to actually watch that one just based on that. And After Everything from 2023, the final chapter and not based on a book, but they are planning other ones. It's just like Friday the 13th Part 4. They call that movie the final chapter, but there were a number of sequels after it. Just know that when they say that the book is closing, that it's usually going to eventually open up again, because that's how so many of these things work out. And all of these are streaming on Netflix, by the way. So if you ever want to check them out, I think you can easily find them there, at least for the time being. So if you think these movies are going to get less dramatic with time, think again. They're most certainly going to build up on that. And if you think it's worth your time, the point is that these movies are far from perfect. This first one, the script is predictable, the relationship is problematic, as that expression so often is used, and the emotional beats are, I would say, occasionally hollow. It's frankly not the most exciting movie of all time or anything like that. So if you're a fan of this type of romance, though, or messy love stories, or fan fiction turned into phenomenon, then it'll potentially hit a nerve. Maybe you'll like it more than I did. It's escapism, it's a guilty pleasure, and it's a glimpse of how online fandom can literally rewrite Hollywood, because you better believe that some other fan fiction is being adapted into film or TV shows based on the success of this uh, original film. So if you're in the mood for passionate chaos and you're cool with eye rolling a few scenes, then go ahead and press play. You might actually like this one more than I did. And that's all for this episode. If you liked my little breakdown, you can hit follow, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, whatever, and leave a review and let me know what movie I should cover next. It's something I could add to my list even if I don't get around to it right away. So, again, my name's Wade, and remember, sometimes even the messiest movies start with a single post on Wattpad. So I'll see you later.